Welcome to Center of Light. Yanava here. It is Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Central Time. You can find Center of Light Radio here. If you're listening for the first time, welcome. It's nice to meet you. My name is Keith Blanchard. I'm very approachable. Contact me. Say hi. Plug into this system, which is always about divine unfoldment and reinforcement. Strapping my brothers and sisters, astronauts, as we launch for inner space. Center of Light Radio. Radio for the soul and the transformation station. It's good to see all you people gathering in the room. First off, I'd like to say hi to everyone. All the people who come back time after time. I really, really appreciate your support in this beautiful work that I do. It is my life, and your support is it is the reason for it. It is. So welcome, everyone. If you would, right off the bat, would you share this to you all? We have a fantastic show with Miss Lisa Campion. We're going to get to that shortly. Share this to you all. Also, in this forum, you'll see a group of links. You'll see a YouTube link in there. YouTube.com/Center of Light Radio. Please go to my YouTube page. Subscribe. Give me some thumbs up. As well as some comments if you watch some of my archived radio interviews, which is hundreds. Achieved the listening audits over 4+ million, thanks to people just like you. There's a donate link in there for support, tour support. Notify me when Keith goes live. That little, I think it's called an ellipsis. I write books, I should know what that is. It's an ellipsis. Click there, notify me when Keith goes live. Also, I want to give a big shout out to Tom Schaefer. Dear friend, I met when I did a presentation in Orlando, Florida. Boy, was that weekend magical. No pun intended. Enter the magic kingdom. I did a presentation a while back where a friend of mine and I saw a lady disappear right before our eyes. Check out that video. Also, I want to say thanks to Tom Schaefer, who I met while I was there. He made this beautiful live YouTube page. You can check it. Go there now if you like. Go to videoshow.live/ which is right over the question mark, center. Videoshow.live/center. Or you can go to videoshow.live and look through all the different shows that he supports as a hub, as a center, the center of light. You are the center of light in everything from the singularity that lives at the very core, the very essence of who you are, explodes, expresses, and wills itself forth into infinity. Wrap your head around that. You can't. You have to use your heart. Welcome to the show. For those who are interested, I've been having a lot of people ask me for readings lately. Yes, I do readings. I don't do psychic readings. It's not my way. I do have intuition, and I do have the ability to be psychic, or I am. But when I do my readings, I don't come across that way. I'm holding your hand metaphorically, looking at you, where your eyes go, what's your body language, what you're saying, what you're not saying. And we're getting down to the meat and titers of what it is you're trying to achieve, be it a relationship, be it financial abundance, be it in your job, simply just moving blocks out of the way so you can increase the level of peace you have in your life. You may say, Keith, that's hard. It's exactly what it's not. Peace is not hard. It's not a doing. It's a leaving things alone kind of idea. And simply when you get to the probably just above the 50% point of that, you start gaining so much momentum, it takes over for you. Then you could sit back and just simply enjoy the ride. Center of Light Radio is now going 24/7-ish. The ish part of it is sometimes when I do presentations, broadcast interviews like now with Lisa Campion, I can't use the machine twice. So you can always find Center of Light Radio 24/7-ish on my personal wall, or Center of Light Radio on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Center of Light Radio. If you're interested in that reading I just mentioned, you can leave me a message in here. Keith, I'm interested in a reading or counseling. I like the idea of counseling better. The reading will be incorporated with that. Whatever word you choose. Just let me know, or you could send me a personal Facebook inbox message, and I will respond immediately. It drives people bonkers who are around me how much I love my work/play. I don't stop. Blessed man am I. Welcome to Center of Light Radio. My guest tonight is Miss Lisa Campion. We're going to talk about lots of really cool stuff. Questions that people have been asking me. And as I told Lisa in the green room a little earlier, it's not really my field. I understand it. I am one. But it's just not my way. I'm more into the cosmic mysticism kind of stuff. And which gives me the perfect reason, excuse to have this beautiful light on the show to explain it not only to you, but to me. What it is mechanically and more so, even more deep than that. See, I like mechanics at first. And then I'm ready to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. My name is Yanava. You can call me Keith. Yanava. Just don't call me late for vittles. Stick around. Gonna be right back. Center of Light is always about breathing. That's the gate. That's the gate. There is nothing else to bring you the bliss you desire. Everything in that breath, that deafening, profound silence awaits your breath.
Trust that I will guide you in whatever you do. Just remember to breathe and do your very best to live in love, give in love, be in love, and love you shall receive.
Hello, beautiful friends. Keith Anthony Blanchard here with an amazing product offer. We have been hearing about hemp oil for the last couple of years and its potential. Let me introduce you to my dear friend, Miss Jackie Atwell. Our oil helps bring your body back to a state of wellness. It is also used as a preventative from illness. It works by bringing the body back to homeostasis and balance. It's a natural, organic, non-GMO, full-spectrum oil. Third-party tested and comes with a certificate of analysis. Posted on our information page. Awesome anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. If you are suffering in silence, give it a try. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. 60-day empty bottle money-back guaranteed refund. To order, go to www.hempworks.com/Jackie Atwell. That's www.hempworks.com/Jackie Atwell. Welcome to Center of Light. It's time to get down to Center of Light radio business. Let me introduce you to my brand new friend. We have a mutual friend, a beautiful lady by the name of Kelly. Is it Sullivan Walden or Walden Sullivan? Sullivan Walden.
Sullivan Walden.
Yes. Let me tell you about this gorgeous lady right next to me. Lisa Campion. The sensitivity cure is what we're going to be talking about. I've been getting a lot of questions about empathic and just stuff. And we're going to let that go where it goes. I'm going to let her take the lead. I'm just going to be the sub dancer. I'm going to be the slave to the grind tonight. I'm going to learn something tonight. Let me give you a rundown on my beautiful guest tonight. This is her bio. Lisa Campion is a psychic counselor and Reiki master teacher with over 25 years of experience. She ain't jacking around. She's in this for real. She's in it to win it. She has trained more than 1,000 practitioners in the hands-on energy healing practice of Reiki, including medical professionals, and has conducted more than 15,000 individual sessions in her career. Lisa is also the Dean of Students at the Rhys Thomas Institute, a 3-year energy medicine school that has trained hundreds of people worldwide in energy medicine. Based near Boston, Massachusetts, she specializes in training emerging physics, empaths, and healers so they can fully, keyword here, for those empaths out there, the keyword is so they can fully step into their gifts. The world needs all the healers it can get, and that is an exclamation point, not a period. Lisa is the author of the #1 best-selling book, The Art of Psychic Reiki. You can look and see that book cover when she's going to be on the main screen, as well as when I'm on the main screen. You'll see that book cover. Check it out. I have no doubt. #1 bestseller. Come on now. New Harbinger Press 2018. She is the host of the popular radio show, The Miracle on Healing, on Empower Radio. You can find my guest tonight, Lisa Campion, at www.lisacampion.com. Hello, dear. Welcome to Center of Light.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be here.
I love me some Kelly. How is she doing? You talk to her much?
Yeah, I talk to her all the time. She's doing great. She's always impressing me, doing amazing new things, and she's doing a lot of sort of social service work right now, like getting out to different parts of the world and trying to help out people, and she's traveling a lot. She's always up to something cool.
There's usually 3 parts to my interview. Well, obviously 3 parts to everything, beginning, middle, and end. But there's 3 things I like to set up, Lisa. And the first one is, what in the heck got you into all this business?
Well, I started my life working as a psychic when I started my working life working as a psychic when I was 19. And I was really one of those little kids that could see things and experience things that other people didn't see. And I grew up outside of Boston in the 60s and 70s. And, back then that wasn't something that was cool. It wasn't something you talked about. It was something you had to hide. And I really spent the first 20 years of my life trying to turn it off, trying to figure out how to, be normal in public. And there were no psychics on TV. There were no New Age bookstores. There was no paranormal TV. There's no YouTube stations, telling you what to do. It was really, I had to figure out everything myself. And it was definitely a school hard knock spiritual training. And it really motivated me to help people. I think that, people are becoming more and more sensitive. The kids these days, teenagers and young people are way more sensitive than I ever will be. And I really hate to see them struggle and suffer. And so I like to teach people, how to really use their gifts, how to be psychic, how to be intuitive, how to be an empath, because I think it's all for something. And we need to figure out what it's for so we can go save the world.
I love it. A lot of it just popped into my heart rather. A lot of people have spiritualists. It's often talked about the Christ or the Messiah complex.
Mm-hmm.
I have one.
Do you?
Yeah. Well, you just said go save the world.
Yeah.
And I think it would be a beautiful thing if everyone had somewhat of a Messiah complex, because it requires the ego to get things done. One of the questions that comes to me often, Lisa, that I understand attachments and the idea of energy vampires of people in our lives that have drama and they really want attention. And where are my prayer warriors? Right? What is an energy vampire and why are we hearing so much about it?
Yeah, this is sort of my new hot topic. Like all of a sudden everyone's talking about. It's actually the topic of my second book, which I'm working on right now, and it's called The Energy Vampire Cure. So I've been really helping people understand, like it's something that's especially important, I think, for sensitive people. So highly sensitive people, empaths, because we are healers at heart. We have sort of the soul of a healer, and we draw to us often energy vampires, kind of like moths to a flame. They come around. And if you know that as an empath, you're meant to be a healer, you're drawing people that need healing to you. And it's very challenging. So there's sort of a natural dance between energy vampires and empaths and other sensitive people. And I think what now people have really got onto the idea of what is an empath. Maybe I'm an empath. That word and that concept is really stretched into mainstream where it really needs to be. And on the heels of that, people are questioning, well, why do I have such a difficult time handling these certain people? Why are they always around me? Why do I attract them? What do I do about it? Right? That's, I think, why it's all of a sudden something that we're talking about all the time.
Are there different types of energy vampires?
Yeah, there are. There's really, I think, 3 different types of energy vampires. The first type is the scariest type. And that's the type that we often think about they are pretty scary. That you should be scared. They're what I call the predatory type. And they are people who really are intentionally trying to take your energy. I think it's like we can think about seriously narcissistic people, people with personality disorders, narcissistic personality, psychopathic personality, sociopathic personality. These kinds of people have a strong intention to take your energy, and we'll often experience them as like con artists, or they kind of will look for a target and they'll figure out with intention, and they'll figure out like what they're going to get out of you. They know how to hook you, how to get you, how to play you, how to say what what exactly it is you need to hear from them. They're really good actors, like the con artist, and they are really rather remorseless. They'll take what they want, and when they've drained you dry, they'll let you go and go find another target. This is something that's really a problem now. Fortunately, I think they're rare. They're the most rare. Maybe we'll come across them. Hopefully, we don't get we don't get hurt by them. Much more common is the second kind of energy vampire, and this would be like the really victim-y vampires. And the victim vampires is way, way more of them. They don't really mean to hurt you. They're just needy. They're trying to get through the day. Oftentimes they actually have for real issues. They're sick, they have addictions, they're struggling with life in some way. And it's not like they wake up in the morning and say, like, how am I going to suck the life out of Keith today? They don't often think that, but they're just kind of like drowning, you know.
Thank you for the affirmation.
You know, they're drowning. They want to kind of like climb on top of you because they don't know another way to get their needs met. And I'm sure everyone can think of somebody that falls in that category. They complain, they whine, they don't feel real motivated to change, and people like that are very draining. And then the last kind of energy vampire is what I call situational or temporary energy vampires. And that might be any one of us that really falls on hard times. Like if you are going through a divorce, if you have an illness, if you are really down on your luck and you just don't have anything, you're temporarily, that way. And sometimes, this is sort of where I want all you empaths, like I want to hold your hands while I tell you this, is that sometimes seriously empathic people, when they get very, very, very drained, can themselves fall into that category of being, I think it's so interesting if you look at like the media portrayal of vampires, like in Hollywood, they take somebody, they drain them dry, and that's how they make another vampire, right? So these energy vampires can take an empath, drain that empath dry, and actually make another vampire out of it. I think there's truth to that archetype of how vampires work. So all you empaths, you need to be very careful that you don't, if you get so drained, you don't actually become a vamp yourself.
It seems like someone who would be highly sensitive and open, that they would attract suckers, vampires, yep, dark energies, all this. Why is that? What is the dynamic between the good son and the bad son?
Well, I think there's a couple things that are going on there. And one of them is really that empaths are meant to be healers, helpers, and caregivers in the world. So if we think about empathy, being an empath, it's like we can feel what other people are feeling, and we feel it as if it's our feeling. We don't just notice that somebody's having a thing. We feel it. You stand next to somebody that's sad, and all of a sudden you're sad. You feel it as if it's your feelings. And the same thing, that's emotional empathy. Then we have physical empathy, which is if you're sitting next to them or touching them and they have a headache, and now all of a sudden you have a headache. You don't just notice it, you've got it in your body. And those two things together, physical empathy and emotional empathy, are like superpowers for healers. They're like, the built-in MRI X-ray machine that, if you're a healer, is very handy. And until you know how to manage your sensitivity, until you learn how to manage your energy field and manage your personal energy, that superpower is sort of crashing around and causing a lot of problems for you if you can't control it. And energy vampires just have a radar. People who are needy and lacking in energy have like this radar for people that have a lot of light in them. So the other thing is that empaths have a lot of light. They carry a lot of light. And they come here, I think, to bring their light to the world in all the ways that we do that. And so it's like a needy person, a sick person, or a person that needs healing will automatically find a healer. That's one part of it. The other part, and the opportunity I think that empaths have, is to take that and learn, practice how to set boundaries, how to say no, how to manage their energy, how to shield themselves. And it's really difficult, but I think it's good practice. So there's a little bit like when you get in the ring with a sparring partner, you get stronger. I think there's potential in there so that both people, it's kind of like two opposite ends of a spectrum or two opposite ends of a polarity. When they come together, there's everyone can learn something. Empaths can learn to be a little stronger and more boundary, and vampires can learn a little more compassion and empathy. So I think there's an opportunity, but we have to work it.
Some years ago, I was at a spiritual fair. I had a vending booth and I did a talk. And one of the slow periods of the fair, I was able to leave my booth unmanned. So I walked around to meet some of the vending people. And there was a lady sitting across the way, another spiritual person. And when I left the conversation, she noticed, and I noticed, obviously, I was walking away with this pain in my hip. It really, really, I mean, it was like a cramp, like, what the heck? Do I need some potassium? Do I need a banana? And she did this motion to me, Keith, come over here. So I walked across the room and she says, I saw it all. I said, what? She says, I saw you pick up that lady's problem. My question to you is, I know you gave me some bullet points, so it would be great talk points for tonight. And because I haven't gotten to them yet, how does one who is very highly receptive remove, ground, shake off said vampire energy, or something you just collecting because you're in your empathy, you're spongy?
Yeah, empaths are psychic sponges, and that kind of I think of it as psychic hygiene. Like you brush your teeth, you take a shower. You have to do the same kind of thing to your energy field. I think of the energy field because I'm an energy healer, so I always see things in terms of the energy field. So and I think it's really good to have many, many ways to do this. And there are many ways to do it. So finding one that works for you is really key. One of the ways that I like to do it is to use like a breathing meditation. So, and this is what I teach my students, my empaths and psychics. So you imagine that you're breathing light in the top of your head, and you breathe it into your heart or your belly or wherever it is you feel like you collect that energy, and it would be where you feel pain. So in that story, Keith, you said, well, you felt pain in your neck or wherever you feel that you're holding it, you breathe light in there. And on the exhale breath, you breathe down your legs and out the bottoms of your feet. And you can imagine, pretend, visualize that you have this grounding cord, like the trunk of a tree that goes down through the layers of the earth, right to the center of the earth. So you breathe light in through your body to that space, and you exhale down into the earth, and we ask the earth to cleanse that energy, to compost that energy, and that kind of visualizing and breathing is very effective. And then you can add another layer, which is to imagine that the outside edge of your energy field is much more solid, like maybe like a bubble that things can't cross without your permission.
There's this lady, dear Lord, if I can remember, Anna Bradenback. Do you know who she is?
No, I don't.
Oh my dear Lord, I'm going to send you this lady. This lady, you may have seen this video floating around social media for quite a few years. She's an animal whisperer. And there was this video of her with this black leopard by the name of Diablo.
Wow.
And he would eat you alive. He would just eat you alive. And she did this work with this animal in a matter of whatever, 15, 20, 30 minutes. And he became this different being altogether. All that being said, when we talk about shaking off energy, some people actually use the motion of shaking things off as an intention to remove. Yep. And she said, and I want to ask you if you support this, what she says is, and she's able to swim in water with shark-infested water, but what she does not put a bubble of protection around her, because in the bubble of protection, there's an implication that I'm protecting myself from a something, which is attracting the something to come to the barrier I'm illusioning myself to be putting up. She says, but what I do instead is I surround myself with peace, because in the peace, all things are inherent. What are your thoughts about that? It always passes my space sometimes when I think about that.
Well, I think if that works for her, that's great. And finding something that works is really good. I don't think there's a problem with having a boundary, and that the bubble, and when we have the bubble, I like to think about imagine that it's sort of like a cell membrane. So a cell membrane, which is actually really what it is like, or it's like your skin, like your skin is like the boundary of your body, and it keeps like your guts on the inside and the world on the outside. We need this boundary, and like your skin or a cell membrane, the boundary can be semi-permeable. So we can ask that instead of a sponge, we have the semi-permeable thing that allows supportive energy to come through and non-supportive energy to stay on the other side, and that nothing can cross the boundary without our permission. So I feel like we
That
We
makes
need
sense
that.
to me. That makes sense to me because the intention is completely different versus I'm doing this to protect myself out of a fear-based posture. It's
Right.
truly being conscious and responsible.
That's ultimately, I think, what the bottom line is, Keith, is to be responsible. So no matter whether you're dealing with empaths or people who need healing or energy vampires, the truth is that we are all need to be responsible for our own boundary, our own energy, our own self. Nobody can do it for you. Like nobody can. I mean, even if they could, it's not physically possible, even if they would want to. And the truth is that most people have an agenda that you don't have a very good boundary, because it's, especially as an empath, because they're getting a lot out of you. So it's only on, we're the only one that can sort of mind our own boundary. Once we know that, I find that a very empowering idea, because that means we're in charge, we're sovereign, we are responsible for ourselves. We decide when we're going to give, not when we're not going to give, what we're going to say yes and no to, what we're going to let cross our field. I find that, I don't think that's fear. Do you know what I mean? I just think that's
Totally.
an appropriate use of our power.
I love the idea that you use the analogy of skin because you cut it open, things go awry really
Yeah.
quick. It's so and it permeates, and I really got it because most people go at it from truly trying to protect themselves in a fear-based way, thinking that it doesn't. It's I personally think it's a little deeper than that. You
Yeah.
have to, like you said, you have to become responsible about your energy field. Everyone, thank you for joining me. Center of Light Radio. I am your host, Yanava. My guest tonight is Miss Lisa Campion, and we're talking about everything energy to and fro. And like we were talking, my spiritual band, we're going into the studio 2 Sundays from now. Lavender Soul, comprised of Memphis Symphony Orchestra players. Wow, what an amazing blessing it is for me to be a part of this kind of connectivity. We always have a choice. Life is simply a choice every day, every moment, every breath, and all in between all of that.
Remember that all things are possible. You must choose to be accountable, responsible, enough to believe, and open your heart to receive.
rise above and look at your life, and you see the life you live. Can you be surprised that it all turned out this way and not the way you planned? It's about what you know and what you understand. Choice, life's a choice. It's a choice. Your life is a choice. Choice, life's a choice. It's a choice. Your life is a choice. Learn to follow that inner voice inside. That's the one that's telling you not to run and hide. See what your life could be when you visualize. It's about what you choose that you'll realize. Choice, life's a choice. It's a choice. Your life is a choice. Choice, life's a choice. It's a choice. Your life is a choice. time for you to plan out your life. Seeing what you do by your own design. It's all up to you to make it what you can. It's of your own free will, what don't you understand? Choice, life's a choice. It's your choice. Your life is a choice. Choice, life's a choice. It's your choice. Your life is a choice. Choice, life's a choice. It's your choice. Your life is a choice. Choice, life's a choice. It's your choice. Make a choice.
Greetings, my Broham and Sistar astronauts. Are you ready to launch to inner space? Yanava here, speaking with another amazing product, Dream Leaf. Dream Leaf is a highly effective lucid dreaming supplement that creates the right neural environment for lucid dreaming to occur. It increases dream recall, dream vividness, and promotes high-level lucid dreams. It is composed of a red pill and a blue pill. Each pill plays an important role in the process of successful lucid dream induction. Dream Leaf targets and lengthens your natural REM cycle because this is the stage of sleep when lucid dreaming occurs. The two parts of this supplement are composed of natural herbs that strengthen the mind. The blue pill and the red pill contain 5 of the most effective lucid dream herbs. The blue pill promotes restful deep sleep, causes REM rebound effect, and elevates dream creativity. The red pill promotes lucid dreams, improves memory, dream recall, and increases dream control. I highly support this product. My ongoing experience with Dream Leaf is absolutely beyond this world. Welcome back to Center of Light Radio. My name is Keith Anthony Blanchard, also known as Yanava. We are all Yanava. It is our collective soul. It's the vibration. It's the tone. And everyone is starting to take off with it. I'm loving it. That people are starting to connect, ground themselves in a higher principle. Their most beautiful qualities of who they are. And they're allowing it in. They're accepting it. And they're beginning to implement it and live it. And it's such an amazing thing, at least for me, to watch. Tonight, my guest is Miss Lisa Campion, and we're talking about empathic, psychic, all these wonderful stuff. Her book, The Art of Psychic Reiki. Let's bring Miss Lisa Campion back on the show. Hi, Lisa. Welcome back, dear.
Hey, thanks.
I want to ask you a question. I know that when in the beginning of, well, I don't know that, I'm assuming in the beginning of your development, like mine, or like many people, who are born with a mission meaning you came here. If you don't choose to wake up, you will be woken up kind of person. And when this stuff starts to move, let's pick a number, 13 years old, and then things are moving. You go, what is all this? And does this not resonate with my peers, my family, and my social group? What the is going on? But being you now, where in your path did all this become controlled chaos? Or is it still controlled chaos? And I mean chaos in the good way. I mean, it's just stuff that's moving around. I mean, how do you balance and make sense of all this for yourself, being so open?
Yeah, it's been a challenge. And I think like as I go on, I continue to get more sensitive. So, and my gifts open up more. So I've never stopped learning, and I was very lucky that even though I grew up in the 60s and 70s, my parents were hippies, and so they did all this kind of cool hippie stuff. Like when I was 10, they took me to transcendental meditation because that's what you did when you were a hippie in 1974. and I learned how to meditate. Like who learns transcendental meditation when they're 10? But so I did. And then they did this thing in the 80s when I was in high school called the Silva method, which is also a lot of meditation and visual visualization skills. When I was a young college student, I studied martial arts. I was really wanted, I think I just wanted to be a Jedi Knight, and I figured out martial arts was the best way to actually do that on the planet. It was the only way I could figure out how to really get there. And it turned out to be an incredible, education in moving energy through my body. And then I studied Reiki, and I studied with, and sort of the new age happened in the 80s, and I trained with a lot of really fabulous psychics. So I've worked really my whole life to continue training. And I think this kind of ability, it's like, it's for something. And so we need to know what it's for, and it expresses in all of us in a unique way. And what I do now isn't the same as what I did when I was much younger. Like, it's changed and evolved over the years. And I feel like it's sort of like a musical ability. Let's say you are born with or athletic ability. You're born with an incredible innate talent for music, or athletics. You still have to train. If you're a musician and you're talented, you still have to practice every day. You have to take lessons. You have to learn. You have to hone your skill and study. And I think that this is something that lately I've really been thinking, like, I'm either on the cutting edge of my growth, or I'm dying a little bit. I'm growing, I'm pushing the envelope, I'm learning new things, I'm stretching into uncomfortable territory and growing, or not, and then I just feel like I'm leaving. It's not good for me. And I think we all have to figure out where that is for us, and that changes.
Are you now living in order default? In other words, still, for a lot of people, they go into a nightclub or a restaurant or wherever it is, and they just get bombarded and slammed. Do you still consciously say, I'm about to go into this experience? And I understand why someone would always have to be mindful, because I'm about to go into a very dense experience. But by default, do you do that ritual anymore, or is it just part of who you are, and you're light, and you just, when you walk into the room, people start turning their heads like you enter like a rock star? I mean, because of your confidence and your light and your being planted. What is that like? Do you have to still protect yourself, or it's just by default for you now?
It's sort of both. I think it depends. When I'm having a good day, I can walk in anywhere and deal with things. That recently I lost a friend. She died just a few weeks ago, very young and very tragically, and it really threw me off my game. It really impacted me. I was very upset. I was just off my normal strength, and I went to her funeral. I had to go to a funeral home, which is one of the hardest places for me traditionally. And I didn't ground myself. I didn't think about it. I just went in there, and it was bad, man. It was really bad. I really had to leave. I couldn't. My friends had to take me out, walk me around the block a few times, and buy me a scotch, and buy me a brandy in a bar before I could really get a grip on myself, because I wasn't in a good place when I started, and most of the time I do pretty well. I know I have to monitor my own self. I know if I'm tired, if I'm really tired or not feeling good, I have to be more mindful. But I think a lot of, I can easily handle things now that it used to be really difficult for me when I was younger. And still, I have to think about what I'm doing from time to time.
When I was about 14 years old, you had mentioned this, and it's a beautiful story. I know I'm not here to convince you, and I'm not here to convince anyone. I just want to give you somewhat of a short, beautiful idea, listening audience. Lisa had mentioned the Silva method. I grew up with a 2-year-older than me sister who had a condition called Friedreich's ataxia. My father, being a loving, beautiful human being he is, was willing to do anything to see his child bounce. So he introduced us. Someone came to him about the Silva method. And so we got out of school. Yay! I was cool with that idea from that. That was enough for me. And so on Monday night, you probably remember some of this. Was so many years ago, Lisa. I'm 55, so this. And on one particular, I think the first night, he pulls a card out of a fishbowl. I don't know this person. John Doe is from New Mexico, blah, 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 and I'm going to tell you what's wrong with this person. I mean, like, ha, yeah, right. He says, come Friday evening, you're going to do this yourself. Come Friday evening. He says, which one in your family wants to go first? And I said, Mom said, Keith, why don't you go first? I said, okay. Pulls a card out the goldfish bowl. Keith, do you know Richard so-and-so from whatever, California? I said, I do not. Richard is 45 years old. Go into level is what they call it.
Yep.
Right? Is that right?
Yeah,
Go
that's
into
right.
level. And I remember the part of, of the technique of the class when they say when you go into level, you imagine you're sitting at your desk or your whatever, and there's an elevator. I love it. It's so gorgeous. And when the elevator doors open, the first male and female you see are your guides. And my male was Humpty Dumpty, and my female was Dale Evans from Roy Rogers.
Wow.
Yeah, it was strange. So that night on Friday, when I went to level with this guy, Richard, who I've never met, I went to level, and the elevator came down, and Humpty Dumpty and Dale Evans came out. And I mentioned his name, whatever, and they told us to name 3 body parts. And I did, and I said the liver, the lungs, and the whatever, and the brain. I went to, and they said, well, that's not one of the parts you name. And I said, it looks like his brain is being eaten with acid, and he had syphilis, which was destroying his brain. And I said, it looked like his heart had a bubble on it. That's the terminology I use as a 13-year-old kid. And he had an aneurysm on his heart, and all these things. And everyone in my family unit did this. So was this somewhat your experience as well when you lean into this field of healing and awareness?
Yes. And I was the same age. So you and I are about the same age.
Right.
And I was about that same age too. And that was the first time that I heard about guides, and they put you in the laboratory. You remember that? You go to your laboratory and use your mind to talk to your guides. And it was incredible training for a psychic at that age. You know, after my parents had brought me to transcendental meditation when I was 10, like who gets that? I was so lucky, you know. And absolutely, yeah, it's an incredible program. I feel totally blessed that I was able to do it at such a young age, and that it really prepped me for the work that I was going to do in the world as a psychic. So yeah, it's amazing stuff.
From the chat room, Jackie Atwell asked the question, is it possible to know you are a healer of auras and know where you are meant to express your gift?
Yeah, I love that question.
It's beautiful. It's delicious.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think if you're seeing auras or experiencing auras, then it means that you have a visual psychic gift. That's the one that I have as well, or one of the ones that I have. It's one of the more rare ones, and it's very important to train that one because it's quite difficult to have if you don't train it. It just means you see stuff, you see scary things or good things or beautiful things, and it can be overwhelming if you don't train it. So that one needs to be trained up for sure. And if you're seeing auras, you're seeing people's energy, it probably means that you really need to be thinking about learning some energy healing techniques. You may meant to be an energy healer to study Reiki or polarity or whatever kind of modality appeals to you, because there's a million and they're all great. So find one that you like, because if you're seeing auras, chances are good that's what it's for. When people come to me for Reiki sessions, one of the first things that I do is I look at their aura. I do like a visual scan of what's going on in them, and I see stuff. I had a lady come to me yesterday, and before she even says anything, I can tell that she has depression because I can see this black shadowy stuff in her energy field, and she just looks gray and green to me, and it's not her skin, it's her energy. And I can see that she has something going on in her stomach because there's this like black and red smudgy thing in her solar plexus. And I was like, so I'm already evaluating her. I think she's got depression. I think she's got an ulcer or some kind of bleeding condition in her stomach. And sure enough, she tells me, I couldn't even see her feet. It looked like she didn't have legs or feet. And people who are very ungrounded or have anxiety sometimes look that way to me. So she goes, yeah, I'm here because I heard you're good, good with energy healing, and I've got depression and stomach ulcers and anxiety, and I need help, So learning how to how to interpret what you're seeing will really help you. And Keith, I just have to tell you that when I was 13, my guides when I did silver was Merlin the Magician, like the cartoon version from the old Disney one,
Right.
and some little fairy thing that looked like Tinkerbell.
So where do we think this? I wouldn't say it's. Where do we think this comes from? Of course, we're not. I think it's more valid because of the far outness or the far inness of it. We could have chose this person and that person who were social icons. We decided to get out of the box. I chose Humpty Dumpty. He can,
Humpty
fall
Dumpty.
down and so forth and so on. And you chose Merlin, magical magic. Where does that come from? That comes from some place that says, why am I leaning into this idea as my guidance? That
Well, I
tells a
think that
lot to me.
our guides, our guides look like how we need them to look. So they'll often they have like a user interface that they think that we can deal with, So for me, like my whole life, angels never look like people with wings. They don't look like that to me. They're a little more intense looking, and I think they look like people with wings because that's the user interface we need to accept them, or they appear in some form we can accept and understand. And if Humpty Dumpty, if the energy of this guide is about resilience, like Humpty Dumpty's resilient, somehow he
That
falls
would
over.
actually so describe, I swear to you, thank you very much, Miss Psychic. That would so much actually describe as a 13-year-old child.
Mhm.
What I required was
Yeah.
resilience.
Yes.
Thank
So
you
you
for that
needed
gift.
resilience. You
Thank
needed
you.
resilience. You needed to know that you could fall off the wall and be smashed in a million pieces and still be okay somehow, And
Egg, new beginning, always new beginning, getting
right.
down to the getting out of the shell. Thank you. That's wonderful. I love it. I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Oh, sure. So they're taking, thank you. That's so fun to talk about this. So, I think they take something and then they look through our personal symbol library and they see, okay, what's that energy like? What's that energy that 13-year-old Keith is going to understand a Humpty Dumpty? Or for me, like Merlin, sort of an older, trusted, wise magician type. I had total confidence in that guide. It was the easiest, thing for me to accept. Right?
Wow. And Dale Evans, at least from my point of view now, thinking back, how she feels to me now. Dale Evans, Roy Rogers' wife, black and white days, past, old, mother energy,
Right.
loved by everyone who was a fan. Just wholesome. Wow. I never really took that far into the emotional rabbit hole.
Kim, Gary, I had a talking tree too. I'm just saying. I had Merlin and this little fairy thing and a talking tree. So we must have had we have some connection there.
Earlier you were talking about, Keith being a musician. Even though you were born with the skill, you have to perfect your craft.
Yes.
And I'm assuming I'm going to bet that I know what your answer is. But when I was learning music, even though that fire was in me when I was 6 years old at the VFW bowling alley, bowling the bowling ball through my legs just to be a goofball, and the song came out of the jukebox by the Monkees, The Last Train to Clarksville. My divine script was anchored in me. I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
So fun.
But I learned the craft, okay? But now that I know the craft, all the rules, all the training, all the lessons of being a Reiki master or a musician master and all whoever master, they're still important. I threw them away. I still use them, but I don't apply the rule because I've integrated the rule and then some. So in other words, I'm not pigeonholed. I can actually now get rid of the theory. Is that what it's like to be you? Even though you hold to a structure, you allow yourself the freedom just to have things go so way beyond anything you were taught.
I think that's true when we master anything, So that's what mastery is. Mastery is, and they say like it takes 10 years to master something. I think that's easily true, And once we master something, then we stick, like you said, to the general guidelines, but we can make them up, we can throw them out, we absorb those guidelines. So deeply into us that we can sort of riff off of them, you know? So you know how to riff, you know how to jam, you can kind of go where you want to go with that once you have the skill. And I think that what I notice, and I'm sure none of your listeners are doing this, none of the people are doing this, but I notice in the spiritual world, there's a lot of people who get a little bit of information and think that they're like, you know, Jedi masters. And there's a little bit of a disinclination to do the hard work, you know, that's necessary to do the meditation or the spiritual practice, or take, you know, put your hands on people. If you want to be a Reiki master, you have to, you know, have a certain number of hours with your hands on people practicing that. I see like people often want to get around that truth. Like you just don't, you know, pick up a guitar once and all of a sudden you're, you know, Eric Clapton, right?
What a genius. And he's not this flashy, flamboyant, show-off kind of guitar player. He's connected. Right. Tom Petty, Mick Jagger, Bob Dylan. These people cannot sing. Stevie Nicks. These people cannot sing. They're not singers. They're telling you a story from a place inside that is so believable. You forget about the idea of what you might call harmony and melody. In other words, you kind of allow those little things to happen because they're coming from such a natural, authentic space. Right. We're about to go into our second commercial break. Let me ask you this. Is there anything good that can come from the taking of one's energy? Because the law of physics, the law of spirit, is always about give and take.
Yeah, I think in really healthy relationships, there's a natural give and take, you know, and I think some people are energy givers by nature and some are energy takers by nature, and that if it's within balance, we can have a very beautiful flow. I give to you, you give to me, and when it over time evens out to more or less 50-50, that's what we're looking for. That's what we're hoping for in our relationships.
I'm learning so much. I've known these things, but I never applied this particular thought process, a way of grounding it and integrating it. And I've always lived this way, but I never really had, the words nor the interest, because I'm into the cosmos, man. I want the freaking way out stuff, right? But in so doing, I can see this being so important that I begin to develop an understanding, because I already have the it of it. But I need to develop the vernacular, because the words I use to describe or talk about this helps me to integrate a little more. So thank you very much for your presence. That's for sure.
Thank you.
We're going to take a short commercial break. Going to be right back. My name is Yanava Sri Yanava. I'm all about being a soul alive on this earth using my God-given abilities to achieve or contribute to global peace and unity. That's what I'm doing here tonight. My guest, Miss Lisa Campion. And we're talking about everything powerful and beautiful. It doesn't matter what we call it. It doesn't matter what's at all. Let's see what I'm going to play now from Lavender. So actually, I'm going to play a dear friend of mine's song. It's a beautiful song by Andrea Forrest. She has some very beautiful music. This is called The Song of Peace. I'm going to be right back. Stick around. Welcome back to Temple Center of Light. You're the temple, you're the church. It's in there. Are you intentfully digging every day? I am. I wake up every morning with a golden shovel and I sit in this chair and I start digging to the rabbit holes of everything that means anything that's important at all. And I pull out that golden shovel when the rabbit hole ends and I dig further. If you live with this kind of passion, fire in the belly, muster, cojones, whatever word you choose, things get very real really quick. Welcome everyone to Center of Light Radio, Wednesday nights. Tomorrow, it just so happens, my gold record producer friend, he doesn't like when I use his accolade of gold record producer, 138 plus, Brian D. Harden. He says, Keith, that goes straight to the ego. And I say, so? Sharing your accolades with people helps them believe that they can achieve. We're going to do a Valentine's Day special tomorrow. 12 noon Central Time, called What's Love? What's Love Got to Do? Got to do. And he's a very illumined individual. And he's a beautiful man. Tomorrow. Tonight, we're speaking with Miss Lisa Campion. We have a mutual friend by the name of Kelly. Oh, by the way, she's going to be in Center of Light Radio, I think, 2 weeks from now. She's fun.
She's so great. I love her. She's really helped me so much. She's really helped me with the book publishing because that was a trip. And she held my hand a lot through that process.
Her analysis of dreams is truly remarkable.
I know. She's really got it going on.
Lisa, what is the grossest kind of energy stealing that you have seen? I would like to at least maybe see if I'm learning a little bit of the vocabulary to attach to what I feel. I would think the grossest kind of energy, at least one can apply upon oneself, would be guilt or attachment, or both, or attachment to guilt.
Yeah, I would say that shame is probably the grossest one, because shame is so damaging. It's like the lowest vibration emotion there is. Shame is like hatred of the self. So when you shame somebody, you're really like, in our generation, like our parents used shame-based parenting all the time. You were told, you're bad, you who you are is bad and wrong. That's shame. And when we absorb that, we're like, oh my God, there's something bad and wrong with me. We begin to hate ourselves. We begin to reject ourselves. And I think that's the most disturbing, the most damaging, whammy, like energy whammy we throw on each other. I also think, like, in terms of energy vampires, like I see people, most of the time, people are taking energy very unconsciously from each other. So lovers do it, parents do it to their children, which I think is actually pretty gross. People with power do it, to people who are under their control, which is also pretty scary. Like, there's just, the truth is really, nobody knows really how to manage their energy. Hardly anybody does. So we're all depleted. We're all kind of thrashing around trying to figure out how to get through the day and how to get our needs met and how to refill ourselves. And because we don't know what we're doing, we have these ways of pulling on each other and pulling on food and coffee and sugar and our addictions to kind of fill the hole we have inside of us, and it's all kind of a problem, like really learning how to fill ourselves, how to source ourselves, how to receive a constant download of divine energy, how to connect to the earth and feel earthly energy around us. How we can take energy from the sun. We can take energy from water, from the food that we eat. We should be eating food that's called high on the light chain, which means it has a lot of light, raw foods, fresh fruits and vegetables, really feed us and nourish us. So I think it benefits us all greatly to learn how to truly nourish ourselves in very, very healthy ways. So we don't have to resort to guilt and shame and blame and manipulation and kind of like, you know, like how we mind mess with each other all the time, and usually very unconsciously, but also very with a lot of damage.
Yanava here, Center of Light Radio, Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. Central Time. Also, I'm starting to add Tuesdays. That'll be at 9 p.m. Keith, what are you doing? I like getting busy. I like busy. I'm not escaping. I'm running too, right? My guest tonight is Lisa Campion, www.lisacampion.com. She is a champion without the lisacampion.com. Lisa, from the chat room, the question is posed, can I heal someone who needs it without verbal interaction?
Yes, absolutely. Although I think that we need to have the conversation about permission, so long distance healing is fine. Long distance healing works all the time. It's very, very powerful. And there's been a lot of studies that say long distance healing is just as powerful, if not more powerful, than hands-on healing. I'm a hands-on healer. I like to get my hands on people when I can because I find it's very effective. But I also think that long distance works great. However, I think we really need to seriously talk about, do you have permission? When you're doing a long distance healing on somebody, you really need to make sure they're not driving, they're not operating heavy machinery, they're not, in somewhere where they need to be on their game, because receiving a healing puts you in an altered state. Are they lying down? Are they at peace? Do they have permission? Ideally, you want to just be like, yes, you when you get a verbal, yes, you can do that. And sometimes we can't do that. Like sometimes we can't call, somebody we don't know, a celebrity or somebody you read in the news. We can't get that permission. And you see an ambulance zooming by, you can't stop it and get permission. But I think we still need to stop and take a breath and ask, kind of on a psychic or spiritual level, do I have permission to send Reiki and to honor? And I always teach my Reiki students to like close their eyes, to imagine or visualize that person, ask, can I send you some long distance healing? And you'll see a yes or no written down, or you'll see them smile and hold out their arms or turn around and walk away. You'll get some kind of answer, and it's very important to honor that. So no means no, even in
you just read.
healing.
Oh my gosh! You just read my mind, because if we liken that to a relationship level or someone you're taking on a date that you think you can get freaky with,
right?
If we liken our love for that person spiritually, that we want to help, spiritually we like, we love, we want to give. Insert, to use a word.
Mm-hmm.
Same on a relationship level. Because you love them does not give you permission to impinge.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
It doesn't. That's very invasive, actually, to give
exactly
permission. And sometimes we can sort of do a little spiritual bypass. I know healers do this, like, well, for the good of all and with harm to none. I don't know how I feel about that. If you really get a no from the person, even bypassing that, I don't think that's that cool, honestly. So we can say, like if I see an ambulance zooming by and I want to send Reiki to that situation, I say, is there anybody? I ask, may this go to whoever needs it. And maybe it's the person in the ambulance. Maybe it's the EMT driving it. Maybe it's the nurses and doctors in the hospital waiting for it. Maybe it's the family of the person there. And if none of those people accept it, may it just go to the earth, because the earth always needs it, and so may it just ground into the earth if it doesn't land on any of those places. But I think my intention and what we need to do is have the intention that we're not bypassing somebody's free will by pushing it where...
Because one, human nature always wants to, but it doesn't want to be told what to do. And the other is, we should not undermine someone's spiritual development. You know who Ileana Van Zandt is?
No.
The black lady, she's been on Oprah, short cropped hair.
Oh yeah. Okay.
She's so lovely to me. She said once, there was someone on Oprah who said, my mother is in cancer and she's been praying, and she told Ileana Van Zant, my mother passed away. And I was just praying for my mother to be out of pain. She said, child, you got what you wanted.
Right.
So she didn't really, what she was saying was that the healing comes in ways we can't imagine. And our task is basically just to offer up, to be of service, to shift the light that we are to a direction that it benefits the all.
Exactly. And we don't know, like a lot of people, and this is again hard for healers sometimes to get to hear or to believe, because we have an agenda a lot of times and we don't even know what our agenda is. We might have an agenda that somebody, it gets better, that somebody gets well, somebody's in the hospital, it's not looking good. We might pray or send Reiki, may this person live, because we have an agenda that living is better than dying. And that's not really our business. If they're living or dying, that's between them and God, and it's not our business. Who are we to say we just can't know that. Maybe in that case, dying is better. And this, I've seen sort of extreme cases where I had this young guy come in, this young man, and he said that he needed help because his family, he was Catholic and from the North End in Boston. He was this sweet gay man, and he's like, Mike, every Sunday my family's having a mass said in my name to make me stop being gay. And he was sick. He was like really ill. He had like a horrible autoimmune illness, and he's like, could that mass that's being said in my name be making me sick? And I'm like, well, if it's done with the agenda of stopping you from being gay, then it's a huge energy whammy they're sending you, and it's probably making you sick. And he actually had to like change his name and disown his family and move away, and they stopped praying for him and he got better, And I just think as healers, we have to really be mindful that we don't have an agenda, because we don't know. We don't know whether, living is better than dying for that person, or being gay is better than being straight. And we don't want to interfere with the sovereignty of the people that we're working with, or their free will, or like you said, their spiritual lessons. We can do it, but we shouldn't. It's not that cool. It's bad for your karma.
Wow, in sync again. I was just going through my mind, waiting for the pause, because you're leading me into this place. So I'm assuming, how does a person begin to know that here's my sick loved one, someone I want to help? Is my helping hurting? What is the karmic backlash? I would assume, I'm pretty confident about it, is that what takes you off the hook of any karmic repercussion is you using the measurement stick of knowing that my intention is good. I have no other intention except well-being for this person. When you achieve that kind of place for supplicating wellness for your person, you are free of any karmic debt, because you're simply in a space of absolute love, acceptance, allow, and appreciation. And that's what I'm sending you.
Absolutely. That's totally right. And, I've worked a lot training nurses and hospice workers. I love training them in Reiki. And hospice workers will tell you that, they'll do Reiki on somebody that's in hospice, and that person will take the energy of that Reiki and use it to pass over, use it to die. Like they die right away. They die right there. And the first time that happened to one of my Reiki students, she was like, I killed this person. She was so upset, and it was really hard for her to kind of get her head around the fact that, that when we give energy or we do healing, that person is going to take that kind of to its highest form and use the energy in whatever way that they need to. And I think that ultimately, all healing comes down, it doesn't matter what modality you do, all healing comes down for us to being very present, very grounded, with our heart really open in sort of unconditional love. And we show up for whatever is happening in that moment with grounded, heart open love and peace. I'm here for you, and I'm just going to love you no matter what's going on for you, and I'm going to support you no matter what. And the modality that we use is not very important, but our presence is what's important. So if we have good presence, we show up, we're grounded with our heart open, healing happens.
So as people reflect on their life because they're listening to this interview, this show, and welcome everyone, I appreciate you greatly. Tonight my guest is Miss Lisa Campion. Lisa Campion, just like champion, without the H, lisacampion.com. And we're talking about spiritual energies back and forth, vampires, empathic. So as you reflect on your life by listening to this presentation with Lisa, if you're concerned because you want someone who likes to grow, you like to expand, and you may go, well, I have some of these qualities. Being a vampire sometimes. Lisa, how can a person begin to find fulfillment instead of always trying to be a succubus or one of those people? How can they begin to fill themselves so they no longer reach out and suffocate the life out of someone else?
I love that. I love that question. And I've been talking a lot on this topic, and it's been really interesting to me that as I talk about it, people are responding. So I've had so many people email me or Facebook me and say, I think I might be a vampire and I don't really want to be. What do I do? And it makes me feel so hopeful. Like, oh my gosh, they want to change, they want to grow, they want to find a way to not do that, and it makes me just feel so hopeful for humanity in a beautiful way. And I think that's the recommendations can go for sensitives too. So if you wanted to do some homework for yourself, whether you're a vampire or a sensitive who's just really burned out, get a piece of paper and write a list of 10 to 20 things that put energy back in your tank. So we have sort of an internal reservoir of chi, of energy, and it's our energy gas tank. And we have certain things that put energy out, and we have other things that put energy in. And you could also make a list of things that take energy out. So you could make a list of everything in your life that makes you feel resentful, everything at work, everything in your relationships, in your friendships, every committee that you belong to, everything that you're doing that causes resentment in your life, because resentment is a hallmark that you need to set a boundary. We feel resentful when we give more than we get back. So resentment's like a red flag that says you need to examine this situation and maybe redraw your boundary, say no, quit that committee, tell your boss you're not going to take extra work, whatever. You tell your spouse they've got to do more housework. Resentment will show us where we have an energy leak and we're giving too much. And then in order to fill, whether you're a vampire or a sensitive, really think about what puts gas in. Maybe you need more sleep. Maybe you need a nap. Maybe you need I need to be in a salt tub every night when I've done a lot of psychic work to help me release energy that I'm holding on to. I need some time to walk my dog alone in the woods by myself. Maybe it's things that are fun and creative. So playing music or dancing puts gas in, and you can look through your life and think about what energizes you. There's certain people in your life, maybe snuggling your kids or playing and creativity, I think are very underrated. We don't think they're important anymore. And I think that's crazy. Like, we need to have playtime. We need to have creative time because they put gas in. And what we're aiming for is as much gas in as out, more gas in than out. So we don't have to give from empty. And this is what the problem is for vampires. So vampires they don't know how to put gas in. So they're just taking where they can get it.
There is a phrase, a common dialogue, what's the word I'm looking for? A cliche in the music business when it comes to recording. It's called trash in, trash out. You record junk to tape. There's nothing in the aftermath of recording that's going to fix it. You can maybe put some sprinkles on bullshit, but it's still just chocolate-covered sprinkles on bullshit. So let me ask you this fun question. You did talk about taking a walk in the woods with your dog or whatever. Is there an off switch to the Lisa Campion machine?
Is there an off switch?
Yeah.
It takes like concentration for me really to turn it off.
Versus
So
turning it on.
yeah,
So
like
it's the opposite.
mine is sort of on all the time, and I have to concentrate to turn it off. And I can do that when I'm feeling well and I've got energy, and I go into the supermarket and I don't want to see anything. I just want my vegetables, and then I'm going to leave. And if I've got myself in hand, I'm good. But when I'm tired by the end of the week, if I'm sick or knocked off my game, like I was a few weeks ago when my friend passed away, I really struggle. It's hard for me, and I do meditation. I meditate every night. And I'm very diligent about my self-care because I do a lot. I see 20 clients a week, and I teach in the energy medicine school, and I'm writing already another book, and I have a lot going out. And if I don't really, really, really dedicate myself to clearing my energy field, to protecting myself, to meditating and doing the gas in the tank things, I'm a mess. So it's like a practice. It's like a discipline. It's like a spiritual practice that you can't stop doing. If you want to get in shape, you go to the gym, right? You don't go once and think you're done. Like you go every other day for the rest of your life.
I totally agree with that. And you will know that you are truly in your spiritual apprenticeship. Not that you're not all along the way, but you will know when the momentum begins to kick in, is exactly what Lisa just said, is everything is reversed. You don't have to think about being engaged. You have to think about unengaging, because it's your default now. And now you're living in that energy, in that cosmic energy, that life stream. And when you're living in that conscious life stream, you move along your timeline like the breath of God, like a feather. It's just so effortless. There's so much effortlessness in this. So let me ask you this, another fun question. How is your nighttime sleepscape activity?
Wow, it's a great
Right.
question.
I love it.
It's a really good question. I've always had a little bit of a difficulty sleeping, and I hear from other psychics that that's very common, because a lot of the psychic comes through. It's the sixth chakra, like this brow chakra, right? And it gets very overstimulated. Like 20 clients a week and all the stuff that I do. It's hard to shut it down, and that's the one that has to shut down in order for us to sleep well. So I've had a lot of trouble sleeping in my life, and I've taken every sleep thing you can do, and they work for a little while, and then they stop working. And the only thing that works for me on a regular basis is to meditate. So I really do it because I can't sleep if I don't do it. Actually, CBD oil is sort of a new one for me, and I find that's also quite effective. So it helps me sleep at night. But I'm very diligent. If I don't meditate, I don't sleep, and then often I dream like crazy. So
that was actually my question. I was going to say, I apologize. I didn't want to know your sleep ability. I wanted to know what's happening to you when you sleep.
I dream like crazy. I lucid dream a lot. Right. So I have, very interesting dreams. When I was a kid, I had a lot of nightmares. That was rough. And I actually learned how to lucid dream when I was pretty young. I was probably like 13. It was probably around the time of the Silva that I learned how to lucid dream. And I actually liked lucid dreaming because I could stop a nightmare, and change the outcome of a dream. And
have you noticed, at least for me, and I've learned from hanging around very well endowed spiritual masters, I have learned that it is very common, probably more so than not, that a very profound mystical spiritual experience just following a very dark experience. Most of my mystical experiences during sleep states of consciousness, being chased by something, and look, I get into these sleep states of consciousness and these lower level dark beings start jacking with me. I say, look, you mess with the wrong dude. And I turn into a ball of light, or I start kissing them and telling them I love them. They leave me alone because they don't want no part of that. But sometimes the mind will paint a picture that you just go, oh my God, what is this psychological horror that's happening in your head?
Yeah.
But when I come out of that, I will have this truly high level angelic Godhead avatar mystical experience. Have you ever had this kind of extreme polarity dynamic when you go through your
Yeah,
expressions of soul?
I do. I think that it's very normal. It's sort of like we have to go through the underworld. We have to go into the underworld to hit the divine states. You
Ah,
know,
love it.
and
Yeah.
the underworld, if we go into Hades, it's always your own psyche. It's like what unresolved pieces of yourself, what unresolved traumas or past lives or feelings. Because if we're dreaming, really, everything in there is us. This is what Kelly would say. Everything in your dream is
Yeah,
an
right.
aspect of you, right? So if you're dreaming about sort of hell states, you're in your own subconscious, and as you resolve a piece of that, which I think we do in sleep, it then projects you into a piece of your divine nature. So
Mm.
you're trying to like work through this polarity we have inside of us, the hell and heaven within us. And as you clear up a little piece of hell, you have an access to that piece of heaven inside of you.
I'm excited about her being on the show, period. But for one, a week and a half ago, I had a dream. I'm walking around in whatever dreamscape land, and some guy is throwing wads this big, the size of an orange, wads of money in a circle with a rubber band, and they're all
Wow.
$100 bills. I must have had $50,000 to $100,000, and I'm finding a bucket and I'm putting. I can't wait to see what she tells me about that.
Wow, I can't wait to see what she tells you about that too. Probably has something to do with how you value yourself,
Yeah,
like
that's exactly
that
what she would say.
yeah, that you're really increasing the way that you value yourself, which is great.
Everyone, Keith Anthony Blanchard is Center of Light Radio. I'm starting to add Tuesday nights to the program. Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Central Time. Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. Central Time. My guest tonight is Miss Lisa Campion. You can find more about her at Lisa Campion, champion without the H, lisacampion.com. Going to be right back. Commercial break. Some more Lavender Soul. I love some Lavender Soul. We're going into the studio, record a new album. I am so shiznit excited. See you shortly. Stick around.
Surely as the rain may fall, I wonder why. Worried there'll come a time when my world is dry, oh so dry. In the summertime I won't have no water. The weight, it's a little bit harder to take. So how as I contemplate a billion stars, leaving my hands to fate. That's all I've got, all I've got. In the summertime I won't have no water. It's a little bit harder to take.
Welcome back to Center of Light. Yanava here. Did you hear that last note that boy sang from the bottom of his soul? Chad! Holding it out. That boy is phenomenal. And you ought to hear him do this standing next to you. My God. It's such an amazing, the soul is such an amazing thing. In fact, it's not a thing. It's you. Your soul is not something you're going to achieve. It does make sense. We're moving down the linear timeline. Your soul is not something you're going to achieve. Your soul is actually the projection of the light that's living in this skin, this meat suit, this bag of bones. When we clear the gunk off of the filter to the level, there is no more filter. All there is left is the pure you, the light. Welcome to Center of Light. Welcome back to Center of Light, Miss Lacey Campion, my new friend.
Hey.
Hi, dear.
This is fun.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm just a nut. I love the music. I love the people. I loved hanging out with you. What else can we do except get into trouble?
Well, I think it's all good.
Right. So let me ask you this. Let's get not personal, but personal. Let's get to know each other. How you doing? I'm Keith Blanchard. Right. So what does Lisa like to do when the machine is off?
What do I like to do? You know, I love to dance. I'm a ballroom dancer.
You go, girl.
Yeah. So I like ballroom dancing. I like the Argentine tango. I take a boxing class. I was a martial artist for a long time. So a couple days a week I go to the boxing gym. And I don't actually box, but I do like a boxing workout. So I dance and I box. I'm kind of an introvert, honestly. You wouldn't think so, but when I'm on my off time, I'm kind of quiet. Like I like to knit and I like to hang out with my dog and my friends. I have a lot of friends. I know a lot of people. I really think life is fun and meant to be full of pleasure and enjoyment and fun. I love to travel and try new things. So just try to kind of stay in the joy of being alive.
Do you push the boundaries sometimes? Ever?
Yeah, sure. I'm sure.
Boundaries.
Like, absolutely. Like
Right.
we gotta be working at our edge or we're not really living.
Like you said, exactly like you said 45 minutes ago.
Yeah.
If you're not moving through the nonsense, you're complacent. Nothing's happening. So if the magic is not happening inside the box, then obviously, God damn it, I know it's scary. But guess what? Lisa, would you agree that as equally as something is on the onset of being scary, that once a person moves through it, equally the bang is going to be in the joy and the glee and the bliss.
Absolutely. And, honestly, writing this book was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And every stage of it pushed me to the absolute edge of what I thought I could do, almost more than anything else I've ever done. And I would be constantly like freaking out and being like, I actually don't think I could do this. And then I would do it. I would and then I'd be like, oh my God, I did it. I would be so proud of myself, and then repeat that like every week for a year. And what happened to me on the other end of that was sort of a new level of what I think I can do. So those things that really pushed me and challenged me and freaked me out are now sort of my new normal, and I really like that. I like working at that edge. I like working my edge like that. And I'm just going to keep doing it.
It's throwing the theory away. The theory's great. Like Deepak Chopra said, he said, you are always in a conundrum. As soon as you start saying the universe and you get to places, there's an edge. Well, then he asked the question, what is at the outermost edge?
Yeah.
That's beyond the theory. That's beyond using the imagination, the ability to create.
Yes. That's very enlivening for me, even though there are moments when it's terrifying or I hate it or I'm like, why did I say I would do this, but it's so enlivening. Like I feel so alive, really, and that I'm really living in my life purpose, which is also something that I think is so important, and it drives people crazy when they can't figure out what their life purpose is. And all the years that I've been working as a psychic, that's probably the number one question that I get. What is my life purpose? How do I get it? How do I know what it is? And it really causes suffering and misery for people that don't know. And like, you and I seem like we've kind of figured that out. This is your life purpose, what we're doing right now.
Does your answer sound something like this? What do you want to do? What brings you joy?
Yeah.
Right?
What have you been doing? And I think that people get confused that they think their life purpose is a job, like a career.
Correct.
And I think it's a state of being, I think it's like, it's more like a quality of who we are. And I always tell people, you can take me out of my office and put me in McDonald's flipping burgers, and I'm still going to put my hands on people and talk to their dead grandmothers because I can't help it. It's like, it's not what I do, it's who I am at a deep level, and really knowing what that is so important, I think.
Are there places that we can draw energy from that are beneficial versus being vampires? Look, Mr. Keith Blanchard, he's Mr. Spiritual, right? I got it together. I'm not that stupid. I'm not that ignorant. I'm not that much in denial. I know that I work every day, and sitting on my throne in my kingdom helps me to achieve those qualities you and I are talking about. Where can we look for healthy reservoirs to draw our energy from versus draining other people?
There's a lot. That's a great question. There's a couple of sources that we always have available to us. We always have divine energy. So whatever that means to you, however you access it, maybe it's a spiritual practice, maybe it's God, maybe it's yoga class, maybe it's a religion, maybe it's meditation, but there's some way that we need to connect with divine energy, however that is. And that is like this unending supply of energy that we can constantly need to be filling ourselves. I think that's partly why I'm so strongly believing in meditation. That's what works for me. And I really strongly urge everyone to figure out what works for them. So divine energy is number one. Number two, I think, is earth energy. So what's under our feet? It's like what's over our head and what's under our feet. And how connecting with earth energy also, however you do that. I like to walk my dog in the woods, but maybe you go to the beach and you stick your toes in the sand and you look at the waves, or you hug a tree, or you go outside and you run and you breathe some fresh air. Connecting also with earth. And I'm really these days into being barefoot, because I feel like we put rubber on the soles of our shoes, and rubber is an insulator. And if you're constantly wearing rubber on your feet, your feet cannot connect to the frequency of the planet.
When I play music, I swear to you, Lisa, when I play music, in fact, I've been shunned, which I didn't give a living rat's ass about. I've been shunned. In fact, it's now a joke because that I do it. When I play music, when I'm out in a bar and I'm playing with a freaking killer band to where there's an oversoul filtering through everybody. The bands I play with, I'm blessed. This is not a bragging point. Well, it is a bragging point for me. I'm going to take my kudos. That I've done such work developing my craft that when someone calls me for hire and they say, what songs do you know? I say, this is my genre set. Do you want to rehearse? Nah, let's just go do the gig. But there's something that happens when I fall inside of that place. That place, there's so much information in it. One thing that I do that is kind of not a trademark, I don't mean it that way, but I take my shoes off. After 3 or 4 songs, and I'm settled to where, because I'm the sound guy as well, so I'm mixing, I'm shaping things, I'm getting things together, I'm doing all these multitasking kinds of things. Once that nonsense is done, I take my shoes off. And it helps me, I swear to you, to connect to, I feel balance. The shoes I wear are balanced for walking, but not for getting in the zone. I want to be in the zone. And when I'm on my bare feet, I feel, no joke, I feel complete. I
totally believe it. I really do. And I think that our feet, our bodies are meant to be sort of vibrating with the Schumann resonance, the vibration of the planet. And so we really need that, and we get very disconnected from that. So, So I think that those are things. I also feel like we can gain a lot of energy from the food that we eat and we're meant to. So eating really healthy food, eating food that has it high up on the light chain, that has light still in it. So eating fruits and vegetables, juicing, like including some of those things can really, really nourish us and give us a lot of energy. And I also bet, Keith, when you're playing your music, you're tapping into that cosmic divine energy that you love, and filling yourself kind of with the way that you connect to cosmic energy through music. So creativity, cosmos, all of those things are super filling to us. We need a lot of all that stuff.
And I want more. I look for every possible, literally, I use this word literally, an excuse to plug in. You may think, well, anyone would say, well, Keith, why don't you just stay plugged in? Well, yeah, I'm still in this meat suit, so time goes by, and it's about the gradation of keeping the cosmic gate open as long as possible. And as the human, we go into slumber sometimes. So it's about stretching that space. Meditation is about the empty space between every thought. So when I play music, at first, like we talked about earlier, I had to put that finger on that string and put that one there, and after 3 weeks I got the chord. So muscle memory is now engaging and the mechanics are working. So now for me to fall in that space, like I said, when I go through that entire dance of mixing the band, when my shoes come off, I'm gone. I am completely freaking gone into the zone, and I don't know. In fact, I can't even recall what happens. That's when you can tell a good band, a good psychic, a good painter, a good artist of any type, or a good person in their craft, because they will.
You're in the zone.
They will probably have to come back and tell you, goes, I really don't remember the entire creation of this project.
Right.
Because they're not here. They're in infinite infinite time. There's no time in infinite. So they're living in that space. And I know that's what it's like for you, dear, when you are in your sessions.
Yeah.
And the bliss that happens in your being has to be kind of like a drug as to why the Lisa Campion machine can't stop.
Right. I love what you're talking about. It's like flow states, so flow states are when time slows down, when we're in that creative zone, when we're in the zone, and they're very, very nourishing. So there's some really great research that you can look up and read books on how to get into a flow state. And I think for you, obviously, it's music. I'm also really, because I'm a psychic, really interested in the alpha state. You remember that from Silva Mind Control? They taught us how to get into the alpha state, and alpha is where our creativity and our intuition comes from. So for all of you guys that are out there that want to increase your intuition, that's a question that I get a lot. What can I do to increase my intuition? One of the best things you can do is figure out what puts you into an alpha state and spend more time there. And maybe it's walking, when you slightly zone out, you could be in the shower, you could be doing the dishes. A lot of times
it's not anything that's really heavy. It's just kind of like taking your capacity and your monkey mind and just kind of moving it aside for a second.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of times it happens when our conscious mind is busy doing something routine, like driving or washing the dishes or mowing the lawn, or something like the front part of our brain, the busy part, is engaged in doing whatever it's doing. And that's sort of in this, when you're struggling to answer a question, and then all of a sudden you get in the shower, you go mow the lawn, and the answer is right there because you've slipped into this new, different state. So finding a lot of things you can do that put you in that alpha state will definitely increase your intuition. And then you really need to pay attention. So these are my tips. Pay attention. So pay attention, because we get psychic information all the time and we don't pay attention.
That is so freaking phenomenal, Lisa, because my spiritual guru, Swamiji Visvayogi, God realized man from India, has told me this. When I saw him last year, I asked him a very simple question. We're talking about the alpha state. Not being so heavy in meditation, just taking the monkey and saying, okay, here's a couple of bites of banana and stay over there for a little while. Just be quiet for a little bit.
Yep.
I love doing dishes. That puts me in that perfect place.
Yeah.
But Swamiji told me, I asked him the question, I said, I swear, and you're talking to a divine man, he knows what you're thinking before you ask the question. I said, when I go to the bathroom, before I get to the bathroom, and as on my way out, all those 3 sessions, going, doing, and coming back, things just fall into my consciousness. He says, yes, very, very, very common knowledge in India. That when we're doing these, because we have no agenda when you do the dishes.
Right.
Because you have no agenda when you cut the grass. When you have no agenda because you're using the bathroom. Where you are completely open. And so you get these downloads, these bangs. And so if we can learn that feeling as it begins to happen and begin to redo it somehow and implement that all day long, and as we talked about earlier, and stay in that gradation to where the intervals become shorter and shorter and to where you're always in it.
Yeah. I think so. I think we can do that. I mean, it's not that we don't have human moments, because of course we do. But I think it's like to stay in that flow state, to stay in the state of joy, to stay in the state of openness and alpha state, to stay kind of a little loose, you know. And I learned this from my martial arts
Loose.
teachers.
I love it. I love
You know,
it.
like in my martial arts master, when I lived in Japan and I studied martial arts there, and my teacher was amazing. He was really
What style did you study?
Okinawan Goju-ryu, Okinawan karate.
How far did you get?
A couple black belts. Yeah.
Say
I
what?
think that's one hanging on my wall right
So
back
you're
there.
telling me if some
Right there.
knucklehead decides to ignore your, I'm saying no, that's amazing.
Yeah, I wouldn't
What
really
power that is. Of
I
course,
wouldn't.
we don't mean this in a brutal way, but still, that is respectful, dear.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's good. You know, it was really great spiritual training, and he showed me how you stay really loose when you're they're very relaxed, they're very loose until they move, and then they go back into a state of relaxation. And I think that's really taught me a lot about how to be in the world and how to feel safe, how to move through the world safely, which I think is challenging for sensitive people. And I'm sure that I took martial arts because I'm so sensitive, and I didn't want to be afraid. I didn't want to be afraid of the world. I wanted to be engaged in the world, and studying martial arts made me feel safer. So that's kind of why I decided to do it. But I think we need to pay attention, and then I think we also, one of the big mistakes I see people make with their psychic and intuition is not acting on it. So, and I don't mean that you have to act on every single crazy whim that comes through your mind, but so we pay attention and we have to act at least some of the time, most of the 51% of the time, enough so that we're taking ourselves seriously. Because if you're not paying attention and you're not acting on it, it's like constantly shutting it down. You know, I think it's a good idea to get a journal, to get a little journal that could be your psychic journal. And in that journal, you're going to write your dreams, your psychic hits, your if you have divination tools like cards or runes, you pull those. When you know you're getting something that way, put it there, because when we put it somewhere, we pay attention to it, it gets bigger, just like anything we did. And then sometimes we get a hit, we forget about it. It's like when you put it in a journal, you're like, oh, last Wednesday I totally had this dream, and now it's happened on Friday, and I would have forgot about it if I didn't write it down. So that kind of keeping track of it can be super validating, and a lot of us need validation in order to take ourselves seriously, to know that we're really doing it. So that's pay attention and act on it.
Keith Anthony Blanchard, your final segment coming up. Lavender Soul. I've been getting a lot of requests for this song called Perfect in Every Way. Final segment, Lisa Campion. You can find her at www.lisacampion.com. Stick around, going to be right back. Closing thoughts.
There's a world apart from man and fear. There might be a better way to appear. There's a time to trust and a time to love and a time to know what you are. So let the love of God on you. It's always been that way. It's time to celebrate what you are. Perfect in every way. So it's up to you, a choice to make, to promise yourself you'll celebrate. There's a time to trust and a time to love and a time to know who you are. So let the love of God on you. It's always been that way. It's time to celebrate who you are. Perfect in every perfect in every So it's up to you, a plan to make, to promise yourself you'll celebrate. There's a time to love and a time to trust and a time to know you are loved. Time to know you are loved. So let the love of God on you. It's always been that way. It's time to celebrate what you are. It's time to celebrate who you are. It's time to celebrate that you are.
Center of light. Let the love of God fall upon you. It's time to celebrate you are. I love being me. I do. Do you love being you? I hope so. Together we can make a beautiful mess. Welcome back to Center of Light Radio, everyone. My name is Keith Anthony Blanchard Yanava. All my beautiful friends are gathering in this room. What else could we be doing except learning, understanding, expanding into a beautiful possibility? Wow. For those who are going to follow my work later tonight, I am thinking about doing a presentation called I Saw the Face of God and Lived. I'm going to tell you an amazing story that is soul-natured, but also off of this planet. I'm going to try to get the machine ready to go for 9 o'clock, if not 9:15. If you're interested in catching that presentation, be looking on my wall between 9 and 9:30. Okay? Welcome back to Center of Light Radio, Miss Lisa Campion. By the way, while I'm thinking about it, tomorrow, 12 noon, Valentine's Day special. What's love got to do with it? My record gold producer friend, Mr. Brian Harn's going to be here. And we're going to talk about all types of love. But you can bet I'm going to be stuck on unconditional. Welcome back, Lisa. How are you, dear? Thank you for being on my beautiful show and my beautiful life and my beautiful little guest house.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for having me. It's been such fun. I've
Yeah.
really, really loved having such a good time.
Right, right. Wow, wow, wow. So, what is on the charts future for Lisa Campion? Not only your normal stuff. What's happening in that noggin, dear? What's happening in your na that you see that's beyond the boundary of what you see presently? What is your big vision, dear? How you like that?
Well, I'm working on book number 2. It's called The Energy Vampire Cure. And it's really talking about this, what we've been talking about tonight, is how do we manage our energy? How do we, and I really want to talk about it in a not blaming way, like kill the energy vampires. Like, I don't want to, I'm not really down with that conversation, but how can we all be responsible for our energy fields? I really would like, to be out more teaching and speaking. I feel very, very excited that, I feel like all the healers on the planet are waking up, that we've been called. If you have healer as part of what your life purpose is, you're feeling the call right now. And that might be confusing, or you might not know what to do. To me, it's so exciting that the healers are waking up. We're waking up into consciousness. And not only that, but the people that we're meant to serve, that we're meant to heal, they're waking up. They're coming. Their wounds are rising to the surface. So it's a bit gnarly. It can be kind of gnarly out there. Everyone seems like they're having their issues. But
like you said earlier, sometimes you got to go through hell to get to heaven.
That's right.
If you, like, and in fact, that's exactly what I said. Sometimes when I have these mystical experiences, I have to have this psychology freaking mind of this experience to launch me into this mystical experience. So when you see the depth of what you aren't, then you are able to see the depth of what you are. Because you ask anyone who's living in a dark night of the soul,
yeah,
years later in hindsight, they will never change that experience.
No.
Because that is what it has done for me. The girlfriend of 10 years said, "Bye, Keith, I'm not interested in this anymore." I was a musician. I had no job, no car, no sex, no shelter, no food. And she was all that, and that was gone.
Yeah.
And I reached the ultimate low, the ultimate dark.
Right.
And like the lotus flower, at least for me, and I would think this would be the dance for everyone, that this beautiful possibility just happens, simply.
Yeah, sure. I mean, those dark nights of the soul, they're like initiation experiences, They,
No joke.
yeah, they initiate us. It's like when we have trauma like that, it will cripple you or initiate you. That's the way I think about it. I think Carolyn Mace said that.
Oh, dear Lord, I love her.
Yeah, I do too, man. She's brilliant. She's just off the chart genius healer. So that's kind of my big vision is to be a part of the training of the healers. So as the healers are waking up and feeling the call, to be there for them so that they can get the training they need, get the support they need, understand what they're there for. Because like I said, the world needs all the healers it can get more than ever, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
In closing, I mentioned earlier there were 3 parts to the show. The intro, which is how did you start? We had the dialogue. In closing, in short, thank you for being here, everyone. LisaCampion.com.
Thank you.
What is God to you?
What is God to me? I mean, I think that it's kind of a moving target. Sometimes I see God in the face of everyone around me.
It.
God is in your face. God is in the people here on the in the conversation with us tonight. God is in the face of the client that I'm going to have tomorrow morning. Sometimes I feel that God is, everything, the inner self of me, that divine spark in me, and the entire consciousness of the universe, right? Knowing, seeking to know itself, seeking to evolve and understand itself through its creation, which is us. That's kind of the more cosmic viewpoint that I have. Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie The Passion of the Christ?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The guy asked William Dafoe playing Jesus, he says, "What are you looking at?" He's looking at an ant. He says, "What are you seeing?" He goes, "I'm seeing the face of God."
Yeah.
Thank you. You're a
Thank
blessing.
you.
Please keep me informed. Keep us updated. What you're doing when you want to come back on the show. That door is
Sure.
always open to you, dear.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you do. It's beautiful, sharing the love the way that you do. I love it.
I appreciate you, Yanala, dear. Everyone, I am Keith Anthony Blanchard, your host, Center of Light Radio. I may go live in a little bit between 9 and 9:30. If you're interested, check my wall. You know how to find me. Also, tomorrow, 12 noon, my bro ham sandwich, Valentine's Day special. What's love got to do with it? With Mr. Brian D. Harden. This boy is nothing but a joy, and it is no joke. He's a delight to be around. He's very well educated, very well spoken. I love you. Next week on Center of Light Radio. Check this out. Please, dear Lord, let this fire off correctly when I switch screens. Here we go. Yes. Steve Behrman. He's also known as Swami Beyond Ananda. It's a joke. Most spiritual gurus are called Ananda. Beyond Ananda. He's a stand-up comedian. I remember seeing him when I was a teenage boy. Funny. And he uses comedy to enlighten people all over the world. My name is Keith Blanchard. Peace, love, and always remember, breathe, breathe, breathe with deliberate intention, and life will get juicy for you real freaking quick. Whatever excuse you need to connect. Peace, love, and light.